Hey guys, DJ Jackson, 8-time world champion, 2-time ADCC vet. And today I want to talk to you guys about the importance of mastering the basic techniques before we try to get into learning the advanced techniques in Jiu-Jitsu. It's of the utmost important that we have a strong foundation before we start trying to learn and master these advanced techniques. Because I can tell you from experience, people who spend a lot of time at the beginning of their careers learning and mastering more advanced techniques have to do a ton of hard work. And some of the guys can never actually do it because it is very hard to be very good at jiu-jitsu already and now be forced to go back and retroactively learn the basics of jiu-jitsu. So it's important that we learn the basics first, no matter how tedious we may think it is. These are the techniques that are going to save us. These are the techniques that are going to be with us for our entire jiu-jitsu career. The same techniques that I learned when I was a white belt are some of the same techniques that I learned that I still do today. They're just my best techniques. I remember thinking when I was a lower belt that my instructor would take me into a back room when I finally got my black belt. And once I got my black belt, I thought he was going to take me into a back room and start to show me a bunch of new techniques. I learned these new super techniques that I would be able to do to people, but that never happened because it's not a thing. But when you're a white belt, somewhere subconsciously, you kind of think that that's a thing. You kind of always want what's next instead of embracing what's now. I remember telling my coach when I was a white belt, like, it's kind of disrespectful. Well, not disrespectful, but I think it was. He just answered the question very matter-of-factly. And the question was, I was like, Master Lloyd, I don't know any guard passes. Like, I don't know any guard passes, man. You have to show me some guard passes. I was a blue belt at the time. I'd already won multiple competitions. And his answer to me was, well, do you not pass anyone's guard? I had to think for a second and I was like, no, I pass everyone's guard in competition. So then what's the problem? I thought again and I was like, oh, all right, yes, sir. And then I went on with drilling and learning, but I was only doing the knee cut. And I kind of thought that I would need more than a knee cut. But the basic techniques are what's gonna carry us through. The techniques that we learn at the beginning of our career, the techniques that we become proficient at are gonna be what we do when we're a black belt. Our best techniques are gonna be our best techniques. We're not gonna become black belts and start relearning a bunch of new stuff. Yes, when I got my black belt, I did learn new techniques because you should always be learning. You should never stop learning when it comes to jiu-jitsu. But it's not something like I had to go out and learn and change my game once I became a black belt. Once I was a black belt, my game was already very strong. My first year at black belt, I won black belt worlds. And I won black belt worlds. I got my black belt in 4 years. My first year at black belt, fighting in the no-gi black belt worlds, I passed Clark Gracie's guard with the knee cut because the knee cut is and was my best technique. It always will be because it's what I've done more than 10,000 times at this point. Just like Bruce Lee said, don't fear the man who knows 10,000 kicks, fear the man who does one kick 10,000 times. I was so good at this knee cut, it didn't matter who was in front of me. I would knee cut. If that didn't work, I would knee cut again. If that didn't work, I would knee cut again. If that didn't work, I would knee cut again. Now I have other options that I do from the knee cut. But at the end of the day, if you put a gun to my head and you tell me, hey DJ, you gotta pass this guy's guard and you can only use one guard pass. 100% the guard pass that I'm gonna use is the knee cut because it's my best technique. So it's very important that we understand, like, we're always gonna be expanding our games and learning new things, but the basic techniques are going to be the techniques that are there with us from white belt to black belt and beyond. So it's important that we don't get too into learning the fancy techniques right away because there's going to be times for that. One of my students messaged me and asked me about reverse triangle. He's a very good white belt. He's going to be I really believe he's going to be a high-level competitor one day, but he's asking me about a reverse triangle, and this is not a knock on him. It's just natural. I've asked much dumber things in my career, but we haven't learned the triangle yet. We haven't mastered the triangle yet. We've just started becoming proficient at the triangle. So before we start mastering the reverse triangle or start drilling the reverse triangle, we need to master the regular triangle. Before we start doing flying arm bars, we have to master the regular arm bar. Same with Kimuras, same with guard passes. Before we start doing jumping guard passes and jumping the mount, we need to understand how to hold mount, where to put our body, where to put our hands, how to control the position. If we can jump to mount on anybody, but the second we get there, they bump us off and heel hook us, there's absolutely no reason to jump to mount. We need to know how to control the position before we start mastering these advanced techniques. And it's a very common thing because we watch flow grappling, or we're watching YouTube and someone does something that is absolutely amazing. They do this amazing thing, and the first thing we think of is, I want to do that. I want to do that right now. But we can't always have what we want right now. Everything comes with time. So I want to force on you guys, make sure you embrace learning and mastering the basic techniques, because the basic techniques, just like I told you, I was in the finals of Black Belt Worlds, the most important competition of my life up to that point. And I won that tournament with a knee cut. I passed Clark Gracie's guard with a knee cut. I wasn't able to submit him because he's a very strong competitor, but I ended up winning the match with that guard pass because that is my best guard pass. Doesn't matter who the person is, that is my best guard pass. Now, if I fight someone who's doing something specifically to prevent me from going to that position, yeah, I have other positions to go to. But especially at the lower levels, no one's really proficient at keeping you out of the position that you want to do. So your discipline and your perseverance in the forcing the techniques that you want to do is going to go a long way for making you a strong competitor. The basics are the basics are much more important than the advanced techniques. And when I say basics, I also mean the basic sweeps. The sweeps that we do usually never change. Like, of course, we're gonna learn different sweeps, but escapes. The escapes that we do usually never change. The escapes from half guard are gonna stay the same. The escapes from side control are gonna stay the same. The escapes from close guard are usually gonna stay the same. We're gonna always be learning new techniques. But at the end of the day, whichever escape we've done the most is going to be the escape that we're going to do in competition. So it's important that we master these escapes, master these basic techniques so that we're proficient at them, so we can do them when the pressure's on in competition. I was fighting another competition that I'll bring up. I was fighting Rafael Formiga Barbosa in the Pan Ams. And I think this story is very funny because I made it onto his highlight tape. And I've prided myself on not making it to anyone's highlight tape because I've never been submitted in my weight class. But he did one of the most amazing Tomonagis, butterfly guard Tomonagi, that, man, it was pretty. It was nice. Like, I'm not even upset at him for doing it or for putting me on his highlight tape. It's a really nice Tomonagi. If you watch this match from Pan Am's, I think 2013, 2014, you'll see it, DJ Jackson versus Rafael Formiga Barbosa. He did one of the most amazing sweeps that you could possibly do. But I was able to get out of the position, able to come on top, and ended up wrist locking him at the end of the match to advance to the next match in the division, to advance to the quarterfinals of that division. So while that was the most impressive sweep that as my coach would say, the most impressive sweep he's ever seen, I still was able to win that match using the technique that I've been doing since a blue belt. We've been wrist locking people, called it Black Magic. We've been using the same wrist lock since we were blue belts. Since I was a blue belt, my instructor gave it to us, and we've been drilling it so that we're so good at it that no matter who I'm fighting, Formiga is one of the most highly accomplished black belts you could be. And at the end of the match at the Pan Ams, I was able to secure the wrist lock to advance into the next, to fight my next match. And it was because I didn't try to do anything fancy. I wasn't down 6-0 and was like, oh my God, I need to do something crazy, you know? No, I don't need to do anything crazy. I need to do exactly what I do. So I ended up getting on top, and he took my back. I spun on top of him, was in his close guard, opened his close guard with my basic close guard opening that I do, passed his guard with my basic knee cut that I do, was stuck in side control because he was doing a very good job of holding me down and not allowing me to pass the knee on belly, because I was trying to go to knee on belly and then the mount so that I can have enough points to win the match. But when he was holding me down, preventing me from going to knee on belly, I was able to secure the wrist lock. And it's a wrist lock that I've been drilling since I was a blue belt. Nothing special, nothing fancy. So while I know everyone wants to do the new fancy techniques, everyone wants to do the berimbolo. And yes, the berimbolo is a very good technique. And if our gym does berimbolo and everyone at the gym does berimbolo and we can do this technique and it's part of our game, then yeah, it's going to be a great technique for us. But if no one in our gym does berimbolo, I don't think we should be trying to learn the berimbolo. We need to learn that from someone who does that well. So it's important that when we learn techniques, we aren't learning techniques from YouTube. YouTube they miss a lot of details on a lot of things. So while we're developing our jiu-jitsu, the basic techniques are always going to be the things that help us and keep us and push us to the next level. Also, escapes are going to be one of the things that always stay with us. It doesn't matter how tired we are, how many points we're down. The escapes that we do are going to be the same escapes that we do from white belt to black belt. Another match, I was in the finals of Brown Belt Worlds fighting, finally drawing blank on his name, I always remember his name. I was fighting in the finals of Brown Belt Worlds. He's from Gracie, Baja. I'm gonna kick myself for not knowing his name, but I'll bring it up later. But I'm in the finals of Brown Belt Worlds. I ended up getting swept for the first time in the tournament, and I ended up winning the match with a bump sweep. The exact same bump sweep that I learned at white belt that I've been doing my entire jiu-jitsu career. But because I didn't get swept, I didn't panic, I didn't think, oh my God, I gotta do something crazy. No, nothing crazy. We have to do exactly what we do. What we're best at is always gonna be what's good enough. There's never a time where we're in a situation in the match where we need to stray away from the things that we do best. Now, if the person that we're fighting does something extremely good to prevent us from what we are doing best, then sometimes we're gonna have to adjust. But most of the time, we're just gonna have to stay focused and continue to pressure in and just do the escapes, do the positions that we do best. Because the positions that we do best are always gonna be able to carry us to victory. It's not gonna be the technique that we learned last week on YouTube that's helped us win a world championship. It's gonna be the techniques that we've drilled for months and months and months that is gonna be the techniques that take us to this next level. And typically, when we train advanced techniques, and like most of the time when we train advanced techniques first, and not we, I'm saying just in general, when I've seen people who focus on advanced techniques before focusing on the basic techniques, there's always holes in their game, and it's very hard to come back and close these holes in your game. The same thing where if you train a technique to one side, like you can only knee cut to one side. Maybe someone forces you to knee cut to the other side. If you can't knee cut to both sides and someone just forces you to do it to the other side, your knee cut's gonna be significantly less effective than if you can do it to both sides. So another strong part of this is while we're drilling these basic techniques, do both sides. Don't just do one side. And make sure we're doing our techniques. It takes 10,000 times, 10,000 perfect reps to master a technique. It's nothing new. Like, we've known this for years. Everyone who is at the top level of this sport does this. There's not a person in this sport at the top level who just learns something new and just can do it. That every single one of us, world-class competitors, drills the techniques that we do perfectly 10,000 times. And we also have to make, not only are we drilling these techniques 10,000 times, we're drilling these techniques 10,000 times, and then we're constantly testing these techniques in competition before we get to our major goal competition. If our major goal competition is the World Championship, we're constantly going and competing at the lower competitions to practice the techniques that we've been practicing in the gym. We can't go to a local competition and do completely different techniques that we've been practicing at the gym and then expect to go to the World Championships and then use the techniques that we've been practicing at the gym at the World Championships. We need to go to these local tournaments, these regional tournaments, to develop, to see how are these guys defending my knee cut? How are these guys defending my bump sweep? How are they preventing me from using this escape? How are they keeping me flat when I should be able to get to my side to do this escape? We need to videotape our matches so that we can always learn, adjust, and excel to the next level. It's very important. Like, again, there's nothing in my game that is new. I mean, okay, maybe a few things, but for the most part, everything that I do to this day are things that I've done when I was a white belt. You're not gonna learn new techniques before a major competition and be able to do them effectively on a world-class black belt. So while we're at the lower belt levels, we have to master the techniques that our coach has set for us to master. We have to truly commit and truly drill perfectly. We can't go to the gym and kind of lollygag around and do 2 reps of a knee cut and expect this knee cut to work on anyone who's resistant. We have to be focused. We have to drill this thing and count your reps. We have to be drilling that. You should be able to get hundreds of reps a day. If you can't find a dedicated drilling partner, they have great tools now. Fairtex has a Maddox doll, which is an absolute amazing tool for guard passing, for controlling positions, for controlling submissions and drilling. You can use it anytime, any day. That doll doesn't complain, and it works phenomenally as far as getting reps in. And reps, perfect reps are perfect reps. It doesn't matter. Like, a lot of times we always think we need someone fighting against us to make sure the technique works properly. Before we start having people fight against us, we need to be able to drill the techniques perfectly on a non-resisting opponent. And then we can advance to someone fighting against us and then see how they're stopping us and see what they're doing to stop us. But drilling, embracing, learning these basic techniques before we learn these advanced techniques is going to carry us to the next level. So don't forget to add me on Instagram, Coach DJ Jackson, and I'll talk to you guys later.